You're an artist on record, your ultimate intimate conversation with your favorite artists. In the hot seat, we have Eric Martin of MR.BIG. What's coming up with MR.BIG and much, much more. Don't touch that dial. MR.BIG announced his world tour. I got this yesterday, maybe a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
The Big finished performing Lean Into It album, the whole album that you're doing. And then it's saying that you're going to Japan July 20th. And then I believe US, South America, and Europe tour dates coming next year. That's what they wrote here. This is all true.
This is all true. Yeah. I could.
How do you like that? This is all true.
No, it is totally true. And I about 5 years ago, before the COVID stuff, and it was Pat Torpey had passed away, and we didn't know if we were going to continue as a band. And I mean, oh my God, I kind of still grieve for Pat. God,
you do. It's tough, huh? You guys were close,
it's
tough. Pat.
We were all really close, you know. Pat was our anchor, our glue that held us all together. I mean, it's really like, I always used to say, when you were telling me about, like, you have machine message stuff on your cell phone, you had from Eddie Van Halen, right? I have like Pat Torpey going, Eric, don't rock the boat. We're almost home. You know, like he go, we're going out on the road, but like, come on, don't start shit. But like, he wouldn't say start shit or argue with people. He'd just say, don't rock the boat. We're almost home. This is a long tour. Or he'd go, I have one. And he goes, wow, Eric, can you believe it? We're #1 on MTV. He'd go, we're #1 on MTV. God, all this attention. I'm quoting. I mean, he goes, all this attention. I'm getting kind of scared. I knew you had it in you, Eric. Oh my God, God, E, we could make it. It was beautiful stuff, but God, now I'm all over the place. Pat Torpey. So around 5 years ago, so when he passed, 2018, yep, 4 years, 4 or 5 years, whatever. I was doing some solo touring, and then people going, hey, what about MR.BIG? And then I sort of opened my mouth. No one was around to tell me different, you know, and I guess when no one else is around, I'm MR.BIG, I guess. I was doing the interviews, and I go, yeah, what I want to do is try to get the other guys, and we'll do an album. We'll have Pat's favorite drummers. And I started naming people, you know, Greg Bissonette, Ray Luzier, Terry Bozzio, all the drummers that Pat really liked, Ringo Starr, you know. And I go, we'll do an album with all these drummers. And the other guys in the band were like, what the hell are you doing? What are you talking about? And I was just in a weird grieving moment. I was trying to keep the train going, you know. And anyway, yeah, it kind of just imploded and nothing worked. After Pat's passing, during Pat's illness, we had a guy named Matt Starr, another Kiss sort of connection, right?
Yeah.
And Matt Starr, he was the sub drummer, and then Pat was still in it. He had a cocktail kit on the side. He had Parkinson, so, you know, it's totally deteriorating, and he was going through but he bucked it up, man. I'm sure he was in some pain and stiffness and all that, but he kept going, and we didn't want to go out on the road without him. And his voice was still amazing. I mean, him and I he was like Paul McCartney, I'm John Lennon on stage. He was my go-to. And then definitely Billy and Paul, they could sing great as well, but not as, you know, Pat was the main guy. He definitely a lead singer, a drummer. Anyway, when Pat passed, we continued with Matt. We did a Australian tour with Extreme, and then we played Europe in festivals and some clubs. And another connection, Chris Jericho, that's where I sort of got to know him. Fozzy opened to MR.BIG.
Okay.
It's all ancestral, you know.
Yeah.
Heard that saying. So I it imploded, and I didn't hear from those guys, from Billy or Paul or even management for all these years, even through the COVID years. And I'd reach out once in a while to say, I'm not, I don't want to open my big Mr. Big mouth again and swallow this, but I used to go, I would say to people, I reach out to Paul Gilbert and once in a while on an email and say, hey man, great job on your 37th instrumental solo album, whatever. He's a machine. He just pumps them out. And then Billy with Sons of Apollo.
That's right. Yeah.
Or even his solo stuff. He did a solo album, was pretty good. I think it was Vagabond something, but he did a solo album. It was called Holy Cow. And I'm fans of my band members, and we shared a lot over the years. Actually, Paul Gilbert had an album that I really liked that I reached out. It was called Silence's Deafening Roar. I love that album so much that I go, why are they instrumental songs? You could have saved this for, I would have loved to write lyrics and melodies to this, and they were so brilliant, but who knows, maybe I still will. And then Billy over the years and whatever. And what I'm trying to say is that since I opened my big fat mouth years ago, I was so gun shy to talk to any interviewers about the new drummer that we found, and or the tour. And granted, I'm gonna pat myself on the back here, where our manager Tim Heine said, hey E, we're gonna do this, but we should call it quits. Let's just do a farewell thing. And I go, well, I don't want to do any sort of kiss farewell thing, even though they still come in droves. They still see the Kiss and Motley Crue and all that. I go, I just want to play Europe and definitely South America, definitely Japan, Southeast Asia. We're going to be busy, but that's it. I want it to be the big finish. And he goes, oh, that sounds good. And that'll be the title of our farewell tour.
The Big Finish.
And the Big Finish. But I couldn't talk about it for all these years. So people would say, when's Mr. Big going to get back together? And I knew last year, maybe a year and a half ago, that we were like going to talk about this. And Nick, which is I gotta practice his name, because I'm going to say, I'd like to introduce the band now. The one and only Big Mr. Big Bad Balls Ballsy from Buffalo, New York, Billy Sheehan, faster than speeding bullet, able to leap tall buildings, Paul Gilbert, and Nick DeVirgilio. That's going to be hard to say.
I was just going to ask you who the new drummer was and how do you say his name, because I was reading it and I couldn't pronounce it. I'm from Brooklyn, so I'll say everything wrong.
So you got to go Dever. Nick DeVirgilio. He's a guy. Actually, I didn't know him. I knew the band that he was in. He was in his prog band. I don't want to say prog band. I mean, I don't know what prog is that much. Spock's Beard. And he was a really good friend with Paul Gilbert. And I think he'd played on some recordings with Paul, and Paul really liked his personality. And the word prerequisite to get in the band was, you have to, we want somebody to be Pat Torpey. That's what I want. Every drummer I ever play with, I just keep going. When I heard Pat Torpey's crack on that snare drum, he had a Tama snare drum, and it was like crack, and I'm like, if you don't sound like this, we can be friends. That's it, and that's what Nick had. He had that. He was a big fan of Pat's, has that crack, but he can sing like Pat. I mean, he's a great singer. He's a lead singer. And what I was totally blown away, Paul, since we're doing this Lean Into It album, and I go, man, that was 30 years ago. And I have performed a lot of Mr. Big songs, but man, we had these 3 songs: Lucky This Time, My Kind of Woman, and another one called Never Say Never. That, I mean, my balls dropped when I was 40. You know, I don't know if I could sing that crazy high anymore. And Paul goes, well, we'll change the keys. Who cares? And I go, all right, don't tell the fans, you know. And he goes, we'll change the keys. So he changed the keys in a couple of these songs, and he sent it to Nick, their Virgilio, to play drums to. And then what Nick did was really cool. It was kind of like his audition tape. Yeah. He played drums on the songs, and that we wanted to hear him sing too. So he sang the lead and he sang all the harmonies like it was a total, you know, he was Mr. Big. He basically sent it back to Paul. And then when they sent it to me, I was like, what are you talking about, Willis? You know, it was like, I go, he wants to be the drummer, or does he want to be the lead singer? What the hell's going on here? And he was great. He's definitely a great singer, great drummer, and can harmonize like the best of them. So when he played Lucky This Time, and I don't know what else he played, but it blew my mind. And I really love the guy a lot. And I've never met him.
You never met all
No,
virtual like this, all like this type of stuff.
Just, not even, I've really never spoke to him.
Wow, it's crazy.
Texted him and emailed him, and he's a super nice guy. And Billy just, so.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so Billy goes, and this is after one of his shows that Nick came to the show, and he goes, wonderful guy. Things are looking good, my brother, he says to me. And I go, honestly, I didn't even know who this was. And I go, is it Nick? And he goes, yeah, he's a wonderful guy. Great hanging with him, Billy says.
There you go. So,
yeah.
Great hanging with him, because that's the part of the.
That is a big plus, because, hey, look, you're going to audition for Mr. Big is a great band. And it got great players. I mean, Billy Sheehan and Paul Gilbert.
Of course.
I mean, it doesn't get any better than that for me anyway. I've played, and I was thinking about this too, about talking to you about when I say to people, oh, there's nothing better than Mr. Big. I've played with a lot of great players, even guys that sound pretty damn close to Paul Gilbert, playing Paul Gilbert's solos and the Mr. Big songs that I perform live, you know, with solo stuff. And they're great people. They're a good hang, you know, but there's something missing. You know, it's like almost you got the original gangsters are who you want to be playing with, you know.
Yeah.
So Billy and Paul, it just doesn't get any better than that for me. And so when I'm all over the place here, brother.
That's okay. No, it's okay. You must be excited.
But so when you got a drummer who's coming in, auditioning for the part, hey, you know, back in the day of like people being cocky, going, oh, I'm great, and they suck, you know, or like, totally. I remember like songwriters, they go, I got a perfect song for you, and they give it to me, and I go, psychotic pineapple, lesbian tomato orgy. I go, what the fuck is this? And they go, you were my biggest influence. I'm like, you know, I hate that. But nowadays, you know, you got Billy Sheehan, Paul Gilbert, no drummers coming in, you know, half empty.
Yeah. So
got to be a great drummer, got to be a great singer. But one of the biggest things, a good portion of it, like you said, is the hang and the personality. You're spending, you know, tour buses, interview, you know, when you do even the interview things, you got to kind of know people's personality, you know.
Totally.
You want to step on toes, you got to fit in, you got to be a bro. And yeah,
there's a lot of people who are great musicians out there, but the hang is really a big thing.
There are a lot. Oh, dude, I'm sure between the two of us, we can, you know, we can cancel somebody, because I know a lot of super uber talented guys that are dicks.
That was Eric Martin. If you want to see more of this episode, click on the box right up here. Until then, everybody, you're beautiful. And remember, who loves you, baby? We do. Now get out of here, you crazy kids.